What if I told you that every single circumstance in your life right now, your health, your relationships, your financial situation, even this very moment of you watching this video, was created by the invisible power of your own mind? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds impossible. Or, if that were true, why would anyone choose struggle? But here's the thing, and stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. Most people are creating their reality unconsciously, running mental programs they never chose, broadcasting thoughts that attract exactly what they don't want. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up worried about money, and suddenly unexpected bills appear. You obsess over a health concern, and somehow that concern seems to manifest. You fear losing someone you love, and conflicts begin to emerge from nowhere. This isn't coincidence. This is the law of mind in action, operating with the same precision as gravity or electricity. The truth that's been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years is this: life isn't a game of chance, accidents, or random circumstances. Life operates according to a perfect, infallible principle where thoughts charged with emotion become the blueprint for your external reality. This isn't some New Age fantasy. It's an eternal truth that's been woven throughout every sacred text, taught by the greatest spiritual masters, and now being validated by cutting-edge neuroscience and quantum physics. Jesus himself revealed this when he taught through parables about seeds and soil, showing us that our minds are the fertile ground where thoughts take root and grow into our lived experience. The Apostle Paul called it the renewing of your mind, understanding that transformation happens from the inside out. Even the Psalms celebrate this principle with joy, recognizing that what we hold in consciousness with faith and feeling inevitably takes form in our world. But here's where it gets really fascinating, and this is something most people never realize. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you want and what you fear. It simply responds to whatever you feed it with emotional intensity. So when you repeatedly imagine worst-case scenarios, when you rehearse problems in your mind, when you speak lack and limitation, you're actually programming your inner creative mechanism to manifest exactly those experiences. The ancient wisdom keepers understood this. They knew that, as within, so without. They recognized that the kingdom of heaven, that state of harmony, abundance, and perfect health, isn't somewhere out there waiting for us, but something that unfolds from within us when we align our thinking with universal principles. What you're about to learn will completely shift how you see yourself, your circumstances, and your unlimited potential to create the life you truly desire. Because once you understand how your mind operates as the invisible architect of your reality, you'll discover that every limitation you've accepted, every barrier you've believed was permanent, was simply a misunderstanding of how this universal creative process actually works. The most profound revelation that can transform your entire existence is understanding that the kingdom you've been searching for externally already exists within your own consciousness. This isn't philosophical poetry, it's practical reality. Your mind, your heart, your very awareness right now contains all the creative power you need to reshape every aspect of your life experience. If you're finding value in these teachings and want to continue this journey of conscious transformation, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm constantly sharing new insights and practical techniques that can accelerate your spiritual growth, and subscribing ensures you won't miss any of the advanced material that builds on what we've covered today. Think about the most successful people you know, the ones who seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, maintain vibrant health, and navigate challenges with unshakable confidence. What separates them isn't luck, connections, or even talent. It's their inner conviction, their mental blueprint, their unconscious expectation that life works in their favor. They've tapped into something that operates behind the scenes of ordinary awareness. This hidden truth becomes visible when you realize that your current circumstances are simply the external reflection of your predominant mental patterns. Your bank account reflects your money consciousness. Your relationships mirror your self-worth beliefs. Your health expresses your inner harmony or conflict. Your career manifests your sense of purpose and value. Nothing in your outer world exists independently of what's happening in your inner world. But here's where the real transformation begins. Most people try to change their circumstances by attacking the external symptoms, working harder for money, seeking validation through relationships, treating diseases without addressing underlying causes. This approach creates temporary shifts at best because they're attempting to alter the reflection instead of changing what's creating the reflection. The supreme art that very few master is learning to think with precision and intention. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful hoping. It's about understanding how to create what I call mental equivalents. Clear, emotionally charged inner images that serve as blueprints for manifestation. Every invention, every building, every relationship, every achievement in human history first existed as a mental equivalent in someone's consciousness before it appeared in physical form. Your subconscious mind operates like the most sophisticated manufacturing system ever created. It takes whatever mental equivalent you consistently feed it with emotion and begins orchestrating circumstances, attracting people, and creating opportunities to match that inner pattern. The challenge is that most people are unconsciously programming this system with mental equivalents of what they don't want, replaying past failures, imagining worst-case scenarios, focusing on problems rather than solutions. The journey of awakening to your creative power starts with recognizing that you've been the artist of your own experience all along. Every decision you've made, every belief you've accepted, every mental picture you've held with feeling has contributed to painting the canvas of your current reality. This realization is simultaneously humbling and empowering because it means that if you created this experience unconsciously, you can absolutely create a new one with conscious intention. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and show you exactly how to construct these mental equivalents with scientific precision, because there's a specific methodology that accelerates this entire process, turning what might take years into something that can shift in weeks or even days when you apply these principles correctly. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to master this," if this revelation resonates with your soul and you're prepared to take conscious control of your creative power. The moment you truly grasp that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the active creator of your experience, everything shifts. This isn't about taking blame for past difficulties or feeling guilty about current challenges. This is about recognizing the incredible power that's been dormant within you, waiting to be consciously directed toward the life you actually want to live. Your awakening as a conscious creator begins with understanding that your mind operates like a sophisticated transmitting station, constantly broadcasting signals that the universe receives and reflects back to you as experience. When you learn to substitute the fearful mental broadcasts with signals of faith, when you replace worry with confident expectation, when you stop rehearsing problems and start visualizing solutions, you literally change the frequency you're transmitting on. This process goes far deeper than surface-level optimism. You're learning to build crystal-clear mental images that serve as detailed blueprints for manifestation. Instead of vague hopes and wishes, you're creating precise specifications that your subconscious mind can actually work with. It's the difference between saying, "I want to be healthier," and creating a vivid inner experience of yourself, moving with vitality, breathing freely, feeling energetic and alive in your body. The most powerful discovery in this journey is realizing that what you've been calling prayer can become something far more dynamic, not begging or pleading with a distant deity, but making clear affirmations of what's already true in the realm of infinite possibility. You're not asking for something to be given to you. You're recognizing and claiming what already belongs to you by spiritual right. This applies to every area of your existence with mathematical precision. Your body responds to the mental patterns you consistently hold about health and vitality. Your financial flow reflects the consciousness you maintain about abundance and worthiness. Your relationships mirror the love and respect you genuinely feel for yourself. Your sense of purpose emerges when you align with the deeper truth of who you really are. Behind all of this operates something that functions with the same reliability as gravity or electricity, what we might call the divine mind or universal intelligence. This isn't some mystical concept floating in the clouds. It's the organizing principle that coordinates billions of cells in your body, orchestrates the seasons, maintains planetary orbits, and responds to the quality of consciousness you bring to it. Here's what's absolutely revolutionary about this understanding. There are no accidents in this system, no random occurrences, no arbitrary destinies imposed from outside. Every condition, every circumstance, every person who enters your experience is responding to the vibrational signature you're emanating through your predominant thoughts and feelings. The universe operates as perfect law, maintaining absolute order while expressing infinite love through its precise responsiveness to consciousness. This means that when you change the quality of your thinking, when you shift from fear-based patterns to faith-based patterns, when you move from scarcity consciousness to abundance consciousness, the external world must reorganize itself to match your new inner state. It's not magic. It's the natural operation of spiritual law. If this message landed in your heart at exactly the right moment, if you feel like these insights were meant for you right now, show me by hitting that like button. It's a simple way to acknowledge the connection we've created through these ideas, and it helps me know this content is serving its purpose in your life. The implications of this are staggering. You're not just someone hoping for better circumstances. You are spirit in action, consciousness expressing itself through form, divine creativity individualized in human experience. Every thought you think, every feeling you sustain, every mental image you hold with emotion is actively participating in the creation of your reality. Now, I want to reveal the specific mechanics of how this creative process actually works, because there's a precise methodology that the greatest minds throughout history have used to deliberately manifest their visions into physical reality. And once you understand these mechanics, you'll never see yourself or your circumstances the same way again. Write in the comments, "I am the creator," if you're beginning to feel the magnitude of your own creative power awakening within you. The mechanics of this creative process operate with such precision that ancient wisdom and modern science are finally converging on the same revolutionary truth. What you're about to understand will change how you approach every single day of your life, because you're going to see that your thoughts aren't just random mental chatter. They're seeds being planted in the fertile soil of universal consciousness. The principle that governs this entire system was captured perfectly in one of the most powerful statements ever written. God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. This isn't religious doctrine. It's describing the fundamental law of cause and effect operating in the mental realm. Every thought you sustain with emotion becomes a seed that must eventually produce fruit in your experience. But here's where most people miss the deeper truth behind this principle. The parable of the sower reveals that the same seed can produce completely different results depending on the condition of the soil where it's planted. When your mind is distracted, scattered, filled with anxiety and superficial concerns, even positive thoughts can't take root and grow. It's like trying to plant a garden in rocky ground. The seeds get choked out before they can develop. However, when you cultivate mental soil through attention, depth, and Genuine faith, the same thoughts that might have been powerless in a chaotic mind, suddenly become incredibly fertile. This is why two people can use identical affirmations or visualization techniques and get completely different results. It's not about the technique itself. It's about the quality of consciousness behind the technique. The hidden truth that changes everything is realizing that your mind operates like the most sophisticated farming system imaginable. Just as a farmer can predict that planting corn will produce corn and not tomatoes, you can predict with scientific accuracy what your predominant thoughts will create in your experience. This isn't mystical speculation, it's observable law. When you consistently sow thoughts rooted in love, appreciation, and genuine care for others, you inevitably harvest experiences of harmony, support, and meaningful connections. When you plant seeds of gratitude and abundance consciousness, your external circumstances must reorganize to reflect that inner prosperity. The universe responds to your mental farming with the same precision that water boils at exactly 100 degrees Celsius. Conversely, when you allow your mental garden to be overrun with thoughts of criticism, resentment, and judgment toward others, you're guaranteeing a harvest of conflict and discord in your relationships. When you repeatedly focus on lack, limitation, and what's going wrong, you're programming your subconscious to attract more experiences that confirm those patterns. This isn't punishment or reward, it's simply how the system works. The creative intelligence behind all existence doesn't play favorites or make exceptions. It responds with mathematical exactness to whatever mental atmosphere you maintain. Your thoughts are broadcasting instructions to this infinite organizing power, and it faithfully manifests whatever you've consistently impressed upon it. The transformative moment comes when you realize that if this system is already operating in your life with perfect precision, then you can consciously direct it toward outcomes you actually desire. Instead of unconsciously planting seeds of worry and then wondering why your life feels chaotic, you can deliberately cultivate thoughts that will produce the experiences you want to live. Now, I want to reveal something that most people never discover about this mental farming process, because there's a specific technique that can accelerate your results dramatically by ensuring that your positive seeds take root quickly and grow without being choked out by old mental weeds that try to reclaim the territory. Write in the comments, "I choose my seeds carefully," if you're ready to become a conscious mental farmer who plants only what you want to harvest. The technique that accelerates this entire process is understanding the hidden mechanism behind most human suffering and limitation. The devastating truth that most people never recognize is that they've been unconsciously seeding their mental garden for years, sometimes decades, without ever realizing what they were planting. Imagine walking through life with your mental doors wide open, allowing every fear-based news story, every limiting belief from your family programming, every collective anxiety from society to just walk right into your subconscious and set up residence. This is exactly what happens when you don't guard your mental space consciously. You become a victim of inherited thinking, patterns that were never yours to begin with. The majority of the thoughts running through your mind right now aren't even original to you. They're hand-me-down beliefs passed down through generations, cultural programming absorbed from media and social conditioning, inherited fears that your parents learned from their parents, who learned from their parents. You're unconsciously perpetuating mental seeds that were planted long before you were born, and then wondering why your life feels stuck in familiar patterns of struggle. Here's what's both sobering and empowering about this revelation. The universal law of mind doesn't care whether you planted those seeds consciously or unconsciously. It doesn't make exceptions based on whether you meant to think those thoughts or just absorbed them from your environment. The creative intelligence behind all existence is completely impartial. It faithfully grows whatever mental seeds it receives, regardless of their origin or your awareness of planting them. This divine responsiveness operates with unwavering consistency. It cannot fail, it cannot be bribed, it cannot play favorites. When you plant an image in your subconscious mind through repeated thought and emotion, that image must manifest according to its nature. The universal creative power doesn't judge whether your mental seeds are wise or foolish, beneficial or harmful. It simply grows them with absolute fidelity. The profound responsibility this places on your shoulders is both humbling and liberating. The same mind that can unconsciously create limitation, illness, and conflict can consciously create health, abundance, and harmony. The choice isn't whether the law will operate in your life. It's already operating with mathematical precision. The choice is whether you'll direct it consciously or continue letting it run on autopilot. When you encounter someone experiencing persistent health problems, financial struggles, or relationship difficulties, you're witnessing the faithful harvest of seeds that were planted in their mental soil, often unknowingly, often years ago. This isn't about judgment or blame. It's about understanding how the system actually works, so you can use it deliberately rather than accidentally. The transformation begins the moment you accept full responsibility for the garden of your mind. Not responsibility for what happened in the past when you didn't know better, but responsibility for what you choose to plant from this moment forward. Every thought you allow to take root, every mental image you sustain with feeling, every belief you accept as true becomes a seed that the universe will faithfully nurture into manifestation. Now, I want to show you the specific process for weeding out those unconscious mental seeds that no longer serve you while simultaneously planting new ones that will create the life experience you actually desire, because there's a systematic approach that can literally reprogram your subconscious in as little as 7 days when applied with precision and consistency. Write in the comments, "I take responsibility for my garden," if you're ready to become the conscious gardener of your own mind, and stop letting random seeds take root in your consciousness. This systematic approach starts with a fundamental decision that will shape every aspect of your existence. What kind of kingdom do you want to live in? This isn't a metaphorical question, it's the most practical choice you'll ever make, every single day, through the thoughts you choose to entertain and the mental images you allow to develop. You're literally determining whether you'll inhabit a kingdom of peace or confusion, health or sickness, freedom or mental imprisonment. The profound truth that changes everything is recognizing that this choice happens one thought at a time. If you truly understood that each thought you allow to remain in your consciousness for more than a few seconds becomes a seed charged with creative destiny, how differently would you approach your mental activity? Would you still rehearse conversations where you're defending yourself? Would you still imagine worst-case scenarios about your health or finances? Would you still replay past hurts and disappointments as if they were entertainment? Most people treat their thoughts like background noise, never realizing they're constantly programming their future experience. But when you begin to see each thought as either a seed of limitation or a seed of possibility, everything shifts. You become incredibly selective about what you allow to take root in the fertile soil of your consciousness. The moment you start consciously cultivating thoughts of health, abundance, love, and purpose, you're not just thinking positively, you're literally planting seeds in the most responsive creative medium in existence. Your subconscious mind begins organizing your entire life around manifesting whatever you've consistently impressed upon it with emotion and repetition. But here's where the real magic happens, and this is perhaps the most extraordinary principle governing the entire creative process. When you align your conscious seeding with the infinite source of all good, what some call God, others call universal intelligence, and still others call the quantum field, something miraculous occurs. Your seeds don't just grow, they multiply exponentially. This is exactly the kind of deep, transformational content I love creating for people who are serious about changing their lives from the inside out. If that's you, hit the subscribe button so we can continue exploring these powerful principles together. Your subscription tells me you're committed to this path, and I'm here to support your journey every step of the way. This multiplication principle isn't religious rhetoric or wishful thinking. It's describing a fundamental law of abundance that operates throughout the natural world. When you plant one apple seed with the right conditions, you don't get one apple back. You get a tree that produces hundreds of apples over its lifetime, each containing multiple seeds capable of producing hundreds more trees. The universe operates on principles of geometric expansion, not linear exchange. The same principle applies to consciousness. When you deliberately sow thoughts aligned with love, service, and genuine contribution to others' well-being, when you plant seeds of gratitude and appreciation for what you already have, when you consistently visualize not just personal success, but the good of all concerned, the returns come back pressed down, shaken together, and running over with abundance. This isn't describing some distant reward system that kicks in after you die. It's explaining how the universe operates right here, right now, in your daily experience. Every act of conscious generosity, every thought of genuine blessing toward others, every moment you choose faith over fear, creates an energetic momentum that draws opportunities, resources, and support back to you in ways that often seem miraculous, but are actually the natural result of spiritual law. The key insight that accelerates this entire process is understanding that the multiplication happens automatically when you're operating from genuine alignment with the highest good, rather than from selfish manipulation or trying to get something for yourself. The universe can distinguish between authentic service and calculated self-interest, and it responds accordingly. Now, I want to reveal the specific mental technology that the greatest creators throughout history have used to harness this multiplication principle, because there's a precise method for building mental equivalents that tap into this exponential creative power and manifest results that seem impossible from a purely logical perspective. Write in the comments, "I choose abundance consciousness," if you're ready to start planting seeds that multiply rather than just hoping for linear improvements in your life. This mental technology operates on a principle so fundamental that once you understand it, you'll see its fingerprints everywhere in your current reality. Every single thing you can observe in your physical world, from the device you're watching this on to the relationships in your life, from your bank account balance to your current health condition, is nothing more than the visible shadow of an invisible mental pattern that preceded it. This revelation strikes at the heart of how creation actually works. Before any architect begins construction on a building, that structure exists as a detailed blueprint in his mind. Before any inventor creates a new device, it lives as a complete vision in her imagination. Before any artist paints a masterpiece, the entire composition is already formed in consciousness. What we call physical reality is simply the external projection of internal mental equivalents that have been sustained with enough clarity and emotional intensity to manifest. The profound implication of this understanding is that your current circumstances, no matter how solid or permanent they might appear, are actually just the faithful reflection of mental molds you've been unconsciously maintaining. Your financial situation reflects your money consciousness. Your relationships mirror your beliefs about love and worthiness. Your health expresses the predominant mental atmosphere you've been sustaining about your body and vitality. A mental equivalent functions exactly like a plaster casting mold. Whatever substance you pour into that mold will take its exact shape when it hardens. If the mold is cracked or distorted, the final product will be flawed. If the mold is precise and well-formed, the result will be perfect. Your subconscious mind operates as this incredibly sophisticated molding system, taking whatever mental equivalent, you consistently feed it with emotion and orchestrating circumstances to match that pattern. The hidden reason why most people experience such frustration in trying to change their lives is that they're attempting to alter the final product without changing the mold that's creating it. They want more money, but continue to think thoughts of scarcity. They desire better health, but maintain mental images of limitation and decline. They long for fulfilling relationships, but hold internal pictures of themselves as unworthy or unlovable. The transformation begins when you realize that you must first become crystal clear about what you actually want to create, not just what you want to escape from. Most people can describe in vivid detail everything that's wrong with their current situation. But when asked to paint a specific picture of what they'd prefer instead, they become vague and uncertain. This vagueness is precisely why their desires remain unfulfilled. Creating a powerful mental equivalent requires moving beyond general wishes into specific sensory-rich imagery that your subconscious can actually work with. Instead of hoping for better health, you need to see yourself moving with energy and vitality, breathing deeply and freely, feeling strong and alive in your body. Instead of wanting more money, you must create detailed mental movies of abundance flowing through your life, experiencing the emotions of financial security and generosity. The magic happens when you charge these clear mental images with genuine emotion. A cold, intellectual visualization has little creative power, but when you can feel the reality of your desired outcome, when you experience the joy and gratitude as if it were already accomplished, you're providing the emotional fuel that activates the manifestation process. Now, I want to show you the exact process for constructing these emotionally charged mental equivalents with scientific precision, because there's a specific methodology that ensures your inner images have maximum creative power and manifest with remarkable speed when applied consistently. Write in the comments, "I'm designing my reality," if you're beginning to see how your current circumstances are simply reflecting the mental molds you've been unconsciously maintaining. This specific methodology centers around understanding that emotion is literally the cement that binds your mental equivalent into manifestable form. Without this emotional charge, even the most detailed visualization remains nothing more than intellectual daydreaming. But when you can genuinely feel the reality of your desired outcome, when your heart actually rejoices at the imagined fulfillment of your vision, you've crossed the threshold from wishful thinking into active creation. Most people struggle with manifestation because they're trying to build with dry cement. They create mental images but remain emotionally detached, treating the process like a mechanical exercise rather than a living, breathing experience. They visualize success but feel anxiety about their current situation. They imagine health but worry about their symptoms. They picture abundance but stress about their bills. This emotional contradiction neutralizes their creative power because the subconscious responds to what you feel, not what you think you should feel. The breakthrough comes when you learn to give your mental images genuine inner life, making them so vivid and emotionally satisfying that your entire being responds as if the desired outcome were already accomplished. This isn't about pretending or lying to yourself about current circumstances. This is about accessing the emotional reality of your fulfilled vision and allowing that feeling to become your predominant inner atmosphere. The most powerful time to practice this emotional charging process is during the first few minutes after you wake up, when your conscious mind is still quiet and your subconscious is most receptive to new programming. This isn't about rushing into your day with a quick visualization squeezed between checking your phone and brushing your teeth. This is about creating a sacred few minutes where you deliberately align your consciousness with your highest vision for your life. During these precious morning moments, you sit in stillness, breathe deeply, and close your eyes, not to escape reality, but to create it. You bring to mind the clear image of what you desire to see manifested, but here's the crucial difference. You don't imagine it as something distant that might happen someday. You experience it as something present, something already accomplished, something currently true in the realm of infinite possibility. You live that scene completely. If you're visualizing improved health, you feel the energy coursing through your body, sense the ease of movement, experience the joy of vitality. If you're creating abundance, you feel the security and freedom, the ability to be generous, the peace that comes with knowing all your needs are met. If you're manifesting a relationship, you feel the warmth of connection, the mutual support, the shared joy of partnership. The transformation happens when you can sustain this feeling reality consistently, when you can return to this emotional state throughout your day, regardless of external circumstances. Your subconscious begins to accept this new emotional pattern as your natural state and starts orchestrating people, opportunities, and circumstances to match this internal reality. What most people don't realize is that this practice is actually rewiring your nervous system, creating new neural pathways that support your desired outcomes while weakening the old patterns that created your current limitations. You're literally training your brain to expect and recognize the very experiences you want to create. Now, I want to reveal the most common mistakes that sabotage this process and the specific techniques that can accelerate your results dramatically, because there are certain mental habits that act like weeds in your consciousness, choking out even the most carefully planted positive seeds. Write in the comments, "I feel it as real," if you're committed to bringing genuine emotional life to your visualizations rather than just going through the motions. These mental habits that sabotage your progress are often disguised as legitimate concerns or reasonable doubts, making them particularly insidious. The first critical distinction you must learn is the difference between a genuine mental equivalent and what I call a passing desire. Understanding this difference will save you months or even years of frustration and wasted effort. A passing desire feels weak and inconsistent. It changes based on your mood, disappears when obstacles appear, and rarely inspires you to take meaningful action. You might think about it occasionally, maybe even visualize it half-heartedly, but when life gets busy or challenging, it fades into the background like background noise. These desires are often borrowed from external sources, things you think you should want based on social conditioning or comparison with others. A true mental equivalent, however, has an entirely different quality. It remains constant regardless of your current circumstances or emotional state. It provokes genuine enthusiasm every time you think about it, creating a sense of inner excitement that feels both natural and inevitable. Most importantly, it pushes you toward good action, inspiring you to align your behavior with your vision even when no one is watching. Here's the test that reveals whether you're working with a true mental equivalent or just wishful thinking. Does your desire transform into complaint when obstacles appear? Does it fade when progress seems slow? Does it feel heavy and burdensome rather than light and inspiring? If so, you're dealing with a formless longing that hasn't yet crystallized into genuine creative power. The transformation happens when you can return to your vision again and again with the same enthusiasm, when obstacles become stepping stones rather than reasons to abandon your dreams, when the very thought of your fulfilled desire fills you with such joy that you'd pursue it even if no one else understood or supported you. This is when you know you've tapped into something authentic and powerful. But even with a genuine mental equivalent, there's a hidden mechanism that can derail your progress if you don't understand how to work with it. This is the law of substitution, and it governs every thought you think and every emotion you experience. The revolutionary insight is that you cannot think two contradictory thoughts simultaneously. You cannot feel fear and faith in the same instant. You cannot visualize abundance while worrying about scarcity. Most people try to eliminate negative thoughts through resistance, fighting against doubt and fear as if they were solid enemies. But this approach actually strengthens what you're trying to overcome, because in the mental realm, whatever receives your attention grows stronger. When you focus on not thinking about financial problems, you're actually giving those problems more mental energy. When you try to stop worrying about your health, you're reinforcing the worry pattern. The hidden truth that changes everything is understanding that thoughts aren't eliminated, they're replaced. You don't remove darkness by fighting it. You remove it by turning on a light. The light doesn't battle the darkness, it simply occupies the same space, and darkness cannot coexist with illumination. The same principle applies to consciousness. When something resonates deeply with your soul, when you feel that inner yes, this is truth, a like on this video is like sending a signal of recognition across the digital space. It tells me we're vibrating at the same frequency of understanding, and it helps this message find others who are ready for this level of consciousness. When a negative thought pattern tries to establish itself in your mind, you don't need to argue with it or analyze why it's there. You simply introduce a stronger, more positive thought that naturally displaces the negative one. If fear tries to dominate your thinking, you consciously choose faith. If worry attempts to take over, you deliberately focus on gratitude for what's already good in your life. The mastery comes in developing the speed and consistency of this substitution process. The faster you can recognize limiting thoughts and replace them with empowering ones, the more control you have over your inner experience and, consequently, your outer circumstances. Now, I want to share with you the most powerful technique I've discovered for making this substitution process automatic and effortless, because there's a way to train your mind so thoroughly that it naturally gravitates toward positive patterns without constant, conscious effort. Write in the comments, "I substitute with strength," if you're ready to master the art of replacing limiting thoughts with empowering ones before they can take root in your consciousness. This powerful technique for making substitution automatic operates through a three-phase process that becomes increasingly effortless with practice. The first phase is recognition, but this isn't the harsh self-judgment that most people engage in when they catch themselves thinking negatively. Instead, it's a gentle observatory awareness that simply notices when a limiting thought pattern is attempting to establish itself in your consciousness. When you become aware of a thought of fear, resentment, worry, or limitation, you don't condemn yourself or analyze why it appeared. You simply observe it with the same detachment you might watch a cloud passing across the sky. In that moment of recognition, you internally acknowledge what's happening with phrases like, "This is a negative thought," or "This is not of God," or "This doesn't serve my highest good." This observation immediately creates space between you and the thought, preventing you from becoming identified with it. The second phase involves interrupting the pattern before it can gain momentum and establish itself more deeply in your consciousness. This is where you use what I call words of power, simple, decisive phrases that cut through the mental noise and reclaim your authority over your own thinking. Some people find strength in saying "no more" with firm conviction. Others prefer "peace, be still," or simply "stop," or "not now." The specific words matter less than the energy behind them, the clear intention to refuse entry to thoughts that diminish your power and peace. The third phase is where the real transformation happens. This is when you consciously introduce the correct thought, the elevated perspective, the empowering alternative. If the limiting thought was about financial scarcity, you might substitute, "God is my inexhaustible source and supply." If it was about health concerns, you could replace it with, "Divine life flows through every cell of my body." If it was relationship anxiety, you might affirm, "I am surrounded by love and worthy of deep connection." The mastery develops as you increase both the speed and consistency of this substitution process. The faster you can recognize and replace limiting thoughts, the greater your inner peace becomes. The more consistently you practice this throughout your day, the more thoroughly you transform the underlying patterns that create your experience. This isn't positive thinking or mental suggestion. It's working with fundamental mental law. Just as the sun doesn't fight with fog, but simply dissolves it by occupying the same space, an elevated thought naturally dissolves a negative one when you give it your focused attention and emotional energy. The negative thought doesn't need to be battled or overcome. It simply cannot maintain its position when replaced by something more powerful. What happens over time is remarkable. Your mind begins to automatically gravitate toward empowering thoughts because you've strengthened those neural pathways through consistent practice. The old patterns of worry, fear, and limitation weaken from lack of attention, while the new patterns of faith, confidence, and possibility become your default mental state. The transformation isn't just psychological, it's neurological. Every time you choose an empowering thought over a limiting one, you're literally rewiring your brain, creating new connections that support your desired outcomes while allowing old, destructive patterns to atrophy from disuse. Now, I want to reveal the most intensive training program for developing this substitution mastery, because there's a specific challenge that can accelerate your progress more dramatically than months of casual practice when approached with the right level of commitment and precision. Write in the comments, "I choose my thoughts consciously," if you're ready to take complete responsibility for the quality of your mental atmosphere and stop being a victim of random thinking patterns. This intensive training program is what I call the 7-day mental diet, and it's perhaps the most challenging yet transformative practice you can undertake for developing complete mastery over your consciousness. The premise sounds deceptively simple, but the execution requires a level of mental discipline that most people have never attempted in their entire lives. For 7 consecutive days, you commit to eliminating absolutely every negative thought from your mind the moment it appears. Every thought of criticism toward yourself or others, every wave of fear about the future, every worry about current circumstances, every complaint about what's not working, every doubt about your abilities, every trace of resentment about the past, every moment of condemnation or judgment. Every whisper of despair or self-pity must be caught and substituted immediately, regardless of how justified that negative thought might seem. The challenge isn't just in maintaining positive thinking, it's in developing such acute awareness of your mental activity that you can catch destructive thoughts within seconds of their appearance. Most people are shocked to discover how often their minds default to negative patterns throughout a single day. Criticism of traffic, judgment of other people's choices, worry about money, complaints about the weather, fears about health, resentment about past experiences. The stream of negative mental chatter is often relentless. Here's where the real discipline comes in and why this practice accelerates transformation so dramatically. If at any moment you allow a negative thought to remain in your consciousness for more than a minute without substituting it, the entire 7-day diet breaks, and you must start over from day one. This isn't arbitrary perfectionism. It's based on how your subconscious mind actually operates. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between thoughts you think habitually and thoughts you think occasionally. It doesn't recognize exceptions or special circumstances. Every thought that you sustain with attention and emotion, even briefly, contributes to the mental atmosphere that creates your experience. A single moment of sustained negativity can undo hours of positive mental work because it reactivates old neural pathways and reinforces limiting beliefs. This reset requirement forces you to develop the kind of vigilant awareness that transforms your relationship with your own mind. You begin to see how unconscious most of your thinking has been, how many mental habits you've been running on autopilot, how often you've been letting random thoughts create your emotional state and, consequently, your life experience. Most people fail this challenge multiple times before they develop. the mental muscle required to complete it successfully. They might make it through a few hours or even a couple of days before catching themselves in extended worry, criticism, or complaint. But here's what's remarkable. Each attempt strengthens your capacity for conscious thought direction, even when you don't complete the full 7 days. When someone does successfully complete this mental diet, the transformation is often dramatic and immediate. Their entire energy changes. Opportunities begin appearing that seemed impossible before. Relationships improve without external effort. Health issues resolve unexpectedly. Financial flow increases from surprising sources. This isn't magical thinking. It's the natural result of aligning your consciousness completely with constructive, life-affirming patterns for an extended period. The 7 days of sustained positive thinking create what you might call a mental breakthrough, where your subconscious fully accepts these new patterns as your natural state and begins reorganizing your external experience to match this elevated internal reality. Now, I want to show you exactly how to structure this mental diet for maximum effectiveness, because there are specific strategies and techniques that can dramatically increase your chances of success while making the process more manageable and sustainable. Write in the comments, "I accept the challenge," if you're ready to commit to this intensive 7-day transformation and discover what becomes possible when you take complete control of your mental atmosphere. These strategies for structuring your mental diet successfully all lead to a deeper understanding of how consciousness interacts with the creative forces of the universe. But there's another dimension to this work that most people never discover, and it involves completely revolutionizing your understanding of prayer itself. What I'm about to share will transform prayer from something you do occasionally when you're desperate into a precise technology for conscious creation. Most people approach prayer as supplication, coming before God as beggars hoping for mercy or favors. They pray from a sense of separation, distance, and unworthiness, essentially trying to convince a reluctant deity to grant their requests. This traditional approach treats prayer like a cosmic lottery ticket. You make your request, hope for the best, and accept whatever happens as God's will, even when the results are disappointing or destructive. Scientific prayer operates from an entirely different premise and produces dramatically different results. True prayer that transforms and heals isn't supplication, but affirmation. It's speaking with the infinite intelligence as one who knows, declaring with tranquil, deep faith the unchanging spiritual truth that underlies all apparent circumstances. You're not speaking to God from a distance, hoping to get his attention. You're speaking as God, recognizing your fundamental unity with the creative principle of existence. This shift in approach changes everything about how prayer works and what it can accomplish. Instead of begging for something to be given to you, you're recognizing and claiming what already belongs to you by spiritual inheritance. Instead of trying to convince God to change his mind about your situation, you're aligning your consciousness with the perfect will that always seeks your highest good. The methodology involves 3 distinct phases that build upon each other with scientific precision. The first phase is recognition of truth, where you acknowledge who God really is and who you really are in relationship to this infinite presence. You're not a separate being petitioning an external power. You are an individualized expression of that power, temporarily forgetting your true nature, but capable of remembering it at any moment. The second phase involves appropriation in present tense, where you affirm that what you desire is already yours in the spiritual realm. This isn't wishful thinking or trying to convince yourself of something false. This is recognizing that everything you could ever need or want already exists as potential in the infinite field of possibility, and your role is to claim it through conscious acceptance rather than unconscious resistance. The third phase is gratitude, which serves as the seal of faith that demonstrates you've already received what you're praying for in your soul. When you can genuinely thank God for something before you see physical evidence of it, you're operating from the consciousness that creates rather than the consciousness that begs. This approach to prayer produces results that seem miraculous from the perspective of traditional thinking, but they're actually the natural consequence of aligning your consciousness with spiritual law. When you pray scientifically, you're not hoping that something will happen. You're participating in making it happen through your conscious cooperation with the creative forces of existence. The transformation in your prayer life becomes a transformation in your entire approach to life, because you begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances hoping for divine intervention, but as a conscious collaborator with infinite intelligence, capable of creating solutions and manifesting outcomes through the proper application of mental and spiritual principles. Now, I want to explore the hidden element that determines whether your scientific prayers produce dramatic results or fall flat, because there's one crucial component that most people overlook, and without it, even the most perfectly structured affirmations remain powerless to create meaningful change. Write in the comments, "I pray from unity," if you're ready to transform your prayer life from begging to claiming what's already yours by divine right. This hidden element that determines whether your prayers and visualizations produce miraculous results or remain powerless is something that most spiritual teachings completely overlook. Yet it's the single most crucial component of the entire manifestation process. The missing piece is genuine feeling, and without it, even the most perfectly crafted affirmations and meticulously structured mental images remain as sterile as seeds planted in frozen ground. Every thought you think, no matter how elevated or spiritually correct it might be, remains completely impotent if it's not charged with authentic emotion. You can repeat affirmations for hours, visualize with crystal clarity, and pray with perfect technique. But if your words and images aren't infused with genuine feeling, they never penetrate beyond the surface level of consciousness. Your mental image is the seed of what you want to create, but feeling is the heat that allows that seed to germinate and grow into manifestation. Here's what makes this so profound. Everything that reaches your subconscious mind, that powerful, creative mechanism that orchestrates your life experience, gets there through the gateway of emotion. Your subconscious doesn't respond to logical arguments or intellectual concepts. It responds to whatever you feel intensely, accepting as absolutely true anything that arrives accompanied by strong emotion, whether that emotion is positive or negative, constructive or destructive. This explains why people can affirm prosperity for years while continuing to experience financial struggle, or visualize perfect health while remaining sick. They're going through the mental motions without generating the emotional reality that would activate their subconscious creative power. They're trying to plant gardens with words instead of seeds, wondering why nothing grows. The breakthrough comes when you learn to access authentic feeling states that support your desired outcomes. And there are 3 particularly powerful resources for generating these emotions that bypass the mental resistance most people encounter when trying to feel positive about circumstances that appear negative. Music operates as the first and perhaps most immediate pathway to emotional transformation. Pure, harmonious music penetrates directly into your emotional system without having to pass through the filters of your analytical mind. A single melody can transport you from anxiety to peace, from sadness to joy, from fear to confidence in a matter of seconds, not through mental persuasion, but through direct, vibrational resonance with your emotional nature. When you combine this musical elevation with your visualization practice, you're not trying to force yourself to feel something artificial. You're using the natural emotional response to beautiful sound as the foundation for experiencing your desired reality as already accomplished. The music becomes the bridge between where you are emotionally and where you need to be to activate your creative power. Sensory memory provides the second pathway. utilizing your body's incredible capacity to store and recall emotional experiences. Every moment of joy, peace, love, or triumph you've ever experienced is archived in your cellular memory, available to be reactivated when you know how to access it consciously. Instead of trying to manufacture new emotions from nothing, you're drawing upon authentic feeling states you've already lived. Conscious breathing creates the third pathway by establishing harmony between your physical and mental systems. When you breathe with deliberate attention and rhythm, you're literally aligning your nervous system to support elevated emotional states. The breath becomes a key that unlocks your natural capacity for accessing the feelings that activate your creative potential. Now, I want to show you the specific application of these feeling resources to health and healing, because when you understand how emotion directly influences your physical body, you'll have access to one of the most powerful healing modalities available to human consciousness. Write in the comments, "Feeling is my power," if you're beginning to understand that emotion, not just thought, is the true activating force behind all successful manifestation. This specific application to health and healing reveals one of the most profound truths about the relationship between consciousness and physical well-being. What we call health isn't some capricious gift randomly distributed by heaven, nor is it simply the result of good genetics or lucky circumstances. Health is the natural expression of a soul that has aligned itself with spiritual truth, the inevitable outcome when your mental and emotional patterns support rather than interfere with your body's innate wisdom. Your physical body is constantly receiving instructions from your consciousness, responding with absolute fidelity to the predominant mental atmosphere you maintain. Where there's genuine order in your mind, you see harmony manifesting in your physical systems. Where there's authentic peace in your heart, there's vitality flowing through your cells. This isn't metaphysical speculation. It's describing the measurable impact of thoughts and emotions on immune function, hormone production, cellular regeneration, and every other aspect of physical health. The transformation in your understanding begins when you recognize that you were born with what I call a perfect template in the spiritual realm. Every organ in your body, every system, every function already exists as a flawless idea in divine consciousness. Your heart knows exactly how to beat. Your lungs understand precisely how to breathe. Your immune system comprehends perfectly how to protect and heal. This isn't learned behavior. It's innate intelligence expressing itself through physical form. This perfect template never disappears, never becomes damaged, never loses its power to guide your body toward optimal function. What happens when illness or dysfunction appears? Isn't that the template has been destroyed. It's that the connection between your conscious mind and this perfect pattern has become obscured by mental and emotional interference. Fear acts like static on a radio, disrupting the clear signal between your spiritual blueprint and your physical expression. Guilt creates a kind of energetic toxicity that confuses your body's natural healing mechanisms. Resentment functions like acid, corroding the pathways through which life force flows. Despair operates as a dampening field, suppressing the vitality that would naturally restore balance and health. But here's the revolutionary insight that changes everything about how you approach healing. Since these interferences are mental and emotional rather than physical, they can be dissolved through consciousness just as readily as they were created through consciousness. When you clear the static of fear with genuine faith, when you neutralize the toxicity of guilt with authentic forgiveness, when you dissolve the acid of resentment with sincere love, the perfect template reasserts itself automatically. Your body wants to be healthy. Every cell is programmed for optimal function. Every system is designed for harmony and balance. When you remove the mental and emotional obstacles that have been blocking this natural tendency, healing doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. The key lies in learning to communicate with your body not through worry and analysis of symptoms, but through feeling states that support the template of perfection. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you connect emotionally with the vision of what's right. Instead of rehearsing disease patterns in your mind, you experience wellness patterns in your consciousness. This isn't about denying current symptoms or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about recognizing that symptoms are simply your body's way of asking for better mental and emotional support and responding to that request by aligning your consciousness with the perfect health that already exists as your spiritual inheritance. Now, I want to reveal the specific techniques that allow you to re-establish this connection with your perfect template quickly and effectively, because there are precise methods for removing mental and emotional interference while simultaneously activating the healing intelligence that's always present within you. Write in the comments, "My body knows how to heal," if you're ready to start working with your perfect health template instead of against it. These precise methods for re-establishing connection with your perfect health template center around a specific type of treatment prayer that speaks directly to your body's cellular intelligence, while simultaneously aligning your consciousness with the divine life force that sustains all existence. The words themselves carry vibrational power, but it's the feeling reality behind them that activates the healing process. When you declare, "God is life and God's life flows now in every cell of my body," you're not making a hopeful statement about something that might happen in the future. You're recognizing and claiming a truth that's operating right now, whether you're aware of it or not. The same intelligence that beats your heart while you sleep, that heals cuts without your conscious involvement, that coordinates billions of cellular activities every second, is the life of God expressing itself through your physical form. As you speak these words, you accompany them with specific visualizations that help your subconscious mind accept and implement this truth. You see your organs filled with pure, healing light, each one functioning in perfect harmony with all the others. You don't need to know anatomy or understand exactly how each system works. You simply connect with the vision of everything operating as it was designed to operate, supported by infinite intelligence and sustained by divine love. The declaration that my mind is at peace and my heart is open addresses the emotional interference that often blocks healing. When your mind releases the anxiety and fear that constrict your body's natural healing responses, when your heart opens to receive the good that's already flowing toward you, you create the internal conditions that allow your perfect template to reassert itself without resistance. This same principle of aligning consciousness with divine flow applies to every area of your life experience, including what most people call prosperity. But true prosperity operates on principles that are completely opposite to what our culture teaches about wealth and success. The shift in understanding begins when you recognize that genuine prosperity isn't about accumulating things, but about allowing good to flow through you freely and abundantly. Most people approach money and material success with a scarcity consciousness, trying to grab and hold on to resources, out of fear that there won't be enough. This accumulation mindset actually blocks the very flow they're trying to create, because it's based on the false belief that good is limited and must be hoarded to be secure. Real prosperity consciousness understands that money, opportunities, and material goods aren't ends in themselves, but vehicles through which divine principle expresses itself in form. When you shift from trying to get prosperity to becoming a channel for prosperity, everything changes. Instead of working to accumulate wealth, you work to align yourself with the infinite source of all supply, knowing that whatever you need will flow through you as naturally as breath flows through your lungs. This alignment happens not through harder work or better strategies, though those may be involved, but through cultivating what I call consciousness of gold rather than gold itself. When your consciousness becomes prosperous, when you think thoughts of abundance, speak words of Gratitude. Feel emotions of sufficiency and generosity. Your external circumstances must reorganize themselves to match this internal reality. The beautiful truth is that prosperity, like health, is the natural expression of a soul aligned with good. When you're operating from your highest nature, when you're serving others genuinely, when you're contributing value from a place of love rather than need, abundance flows toward you not as reward, but as natural consequence. Now, I want to explore the hidden mechanism that activates this flow of prosperity, because there's a specific practice that most people never discover. Yet it's perhaps the most powerful way to shift from scarcity consciousness to abundance consciousness in a matter of days rather than years. Write in the comments, "I am a channel for good," if you're ready to stop trying to accumulate prosperity and start allowing it to flow through you naturally. This hidden mechanism that activates prosperity flow operates through what I call mental tithing, and it's perhaps the most overlooked yet powerful practice for shifting from scarcity to abundance consciousness. Most people understand tithing as giving a percentage of their income to spiritual work, but mental tithing involves giving a portion of your consciousness itself to affirming the infinite abundance that's always available. The practice begins each morning before you allow your mind to focus on any limitations, problems, or concerns about money. Instead of immediately thinking about bills to pay, income to earn, or resources you lack, you deliberately set aside the first few minutes of your conscious awareness to acknowledge and give thanks for the inexhaustible supply that exists in the spiritual realm and is constantly seeking expression through your life. This isn't about pretending you have money when you don't, or denying current financial challenges. This is about training your consciousness to recognize abundance as your natural state before fear and worry can cloud that recognition. When you begin each day by mentally tithing your awareness to thoughts of divine provision, grateful anticipation of good coming your way, and recognition of yourself as a worthy channel for prosperity, you're literally programming your subconscious to expect and attract abundance. The transformation happens because you're changing the fundamental frequency you're broadcasting. Instead of transmitting signals of lack, limitation, and financial anxiety, you're emanating vibrations of sufficiency, expectation, and grateful receiving. The universe responds to these mental broadcasts by orchestrating circumstances, opportunities, and connections that match your elevated financial consciousness. What makes this practice so effective is that it works regardless of your current bank account balance. You're not trying to change external circumstances directly. You're changing the consciousness that creates those circumstances. As your mental atmosphere becomes genuinely prosperous through consistent mental tithing, your outer conditions naturally align with this inner reality. But prosperity isn't just about money, and the most profound transformations often happen in the area of relationships, where the mirror principle operates with absolute precision. Every single person in your life, whether you love them or find them challenging, whether they support you or oppose you, is serving as a perfect reflection of patterns embedded deep within your own consciousness. This revelation can be initially uncomfortable because it means taking complete responsibility for the quality of all your relationships. The difficult people who seem to appear repeatedly in your life, the patterns of conflict or disappointment that follow you from one relationship to another, the types of partners you consistently attract, all of these are vibrational mirrors showing you exactly what's operating in your subconscious mind. But here's what makes this understanding so empowering. If you're attracting these relationship patterns through your consciousness, you can also transform them through your consciousness. You don't need to change other people, convince them to treat you better, or wait for them to evolve. You can shift the entire dynamic by changing what you're unconsciously broadcasting through your beliefs, expectations, and self-concept. The person who consistently attracts partners who are emotionally unavailable is unconsciously broadcasting patterns of unworthiness or fear of intimacy. The individual who repeatedly encounters conflict with authority figures is projecting unresolved issues with power and control. The someone who struggles with feeling supported by friends is radiating signals of self-reliance that actually push others away while appearing to be independence. When you begin to see relationships as mirrors rather than random encounters, every interaction becomes an opportunity for self-discovery and conscious growth. Instead of trying to fix other people or find better people, you focus on healing and elevating the consciousness that's creating your relationship experiences. Now, I want to share the specific technique that can transform any difficult relationship almost instantly, because there's a way to work with these mirrors that shifts both your inner experience and the outer dynamic without the other person needing to change anything about their behavior. Write in the comments, "I see the mirror clearly," if you're ready to take responsibility for your relationship patterns and use them as doorways to greater self-awareness and transformation. This specific technique that can transform any difficult relationship operates through what I call the Christ recognition treatment, and it works by addressing the relationship not at the personality level where most conflict occurs, but at the spiritual level where healing and harmony are always possible. The power of this approach lies in its ability to bypass the ego defenses and emotional reactions that typically keep relationship problems stuck in repetitive cycles. When you find yourself in conflict with someone, whether it's a family member, colleague, romantic partner, or even a stranger who triggered you, the first step is to move into a quiet space where you can work with your consciousness without external distractions. You bring that person's face to mind, not with the intention of analyzing what they did wrong or rehearsing your grievances, but with the purpose of seeing beyond their behavior to their essential spiritual nature. As you visualize their face, you speak directly to their soul, either silently or aloud, with words that dissolve the illusion of separation that's creating the conflict. You say something like, "The Christ in me recognizes and greets the Christ in you. I release you completely from all my judgments, my fears about you, my expectations of how you should behave. I see you as you truly are, a child of God, perfect and free in your spiritual essence." The continuation acknowledges their humanity while refusing to define them by their mistakes. You are not your errors. You are not your past. You are not the pain that sometimes drives your actions. You are pure spirit, temporarily wearing human form, just as I am. I bless the truth of who you are and release both of us from this pattern of conflict. What happens through this treatment is remarkable. You're not trying to change the other person's behavior or convince them to be different. You're changing the vibrational field between you by refusing to participate in the illusion that either of you is separate from divine love. When you consistently hold this elevated perception, the relationship dynamic must shift because you've withdrawn your energy from sustaining the conflict pattern. Sometimes the other person's behavior changes almost immediately, becoming more cooperative, kind, or understanding without any external explanation. Other times, the change is primarily internal. You find yourself no longer triggered by their actions, able to respond with peace instead of reacting with emotion. In some cases, the relationship naturally dissolves as you both move toward people and situations that match your elevated consciousness. But there's a hidden obstacle that can sabotage this entire process, and it's something that operates so subtly in the background of consciousness that most people don't even recognize its presence. Doubt and fear function as invisible enemies of the soul, having no actual substance or reality, yet capable of undermining every spiritual practice and creative endeavor when allowed to take residence in your mind. These aren't just uncomfortable emotions that occasionally visit your awareness. Doubt and fear are persistent illusions that masquerade as wisdom, caution, or realism while actually corroding your faith, distorting your vision of what's possible, and paralyzing your ability to take inspired action. They whisper convincing arguments about why your dreams are unrealistic, why spiritual principles don't really work, why you're not worthy of the good you desire. The insidious nature of doubt and fear lies in their ability to present themselves as logical, protective responses to challenging circumstances. Doubt disguises itself as intellectual honesty, suggesting that believing in positive outcomes is naive or irresponsible. Fear masquerades as prudent caution, arguing that taking risks or trusting in spiritual principles is dangerous and foolish. Yet both are complete illusions when examined from the perspective of spiritual truth. Truth itself never fears, never doubts, never retreats from challenges. Truth stands firm in the knowledge that divine principle operates regardless of appearances, that spiritual law is more reliable than physical law, that what appears impossible to human perception is always possible to infinite intelligence. Now, I want to reveal the most effective methods for dissolving these invisible enemies before they can sabotage your creative work, because there are specific techniques that can neutralize doubt and fear so completely that they lose their power to influence your consciousness. Write in the comments, "Truth stands firm in me," if you're ready to stop allowing doubt and fear to masquerade as wisdom while actually undermining your spiritual progress and creative potential. These specific techniques for neutralizing doubt and fear operate through what I call antidote affirmations, which function as concentrated vibrations of spiritual truth designed to dissolve illusion on contact. Unlike positive thinking or motivational statements, these affirmations carry the vibrational frequency of absolute reality, speaking directly to the depths of your consciousness with words that your soul recognizes as unshakable truth. When doubt begins to whisper its poisonous suggestions about why your dreams won't work or why spiritual principles don't apply to your situation, you counter immediately with the affirmation, "God's love surrounds me now, and I have nothing to fear." This isn't a hopeful statement about what might be true someday. It's a recognition of what's always true, regardless of appearances or circumstances. The power continues with, "Everything is working for my good, even if I don't see it yet. I trust completely in the divine process of my life." This declaration neutralizes the fear-based tendency to judge experiences as good or bad based on immediate appearances, replacing that limited perspective with faith in the larger intelligence that orchestrates all events for your ultimate benefit. The sequence concludes with, "I am guided, protected, and sustained in every moment. God is my strength, and in this strength I am invulnerable to all illusion." These words don't just comfort your emotions, they reprogram your subconscious to expect divine support and recognize your fundamental spiritual invulnerability. The transformation happens through repetition with genuine conviction. Each time you choose these truth-based affirmations over doubt-based thoughts, you're strengthening neural pathways that support faith while weakening the mental circuits that generate fear. Over time, your default mental state becomes one of confidence and trust, rather than worry and uncertainty. But there's another invisible burden that can sabotage all your spiritual progress, and it's often the most difficult one to address because it feels justified, righteous, even necessary. The weight of unforgiveness toward others or yourself creates a constant drain on your creative energy, keeping you vibrationally tied to past experiences that no longer serve your growth or happiness. Most people misunderstand what forgiveness actually involves. They think forgiveness means forgetting what happened, excusing harmful behavior, or pretending that wrong actions were somehow acceptable. This confusion keeps them trapped in resentment because they can't honestly pretend that hurtful experiences were okay, or that harmful people shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. True forgiveness has nothing to do with condoning behavior or absolving others of responsibility. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the energetic prison of the past. releasing the vibrational frequency you've been unconsciously broadcasting that continues to attract similar experiences. It's recognizing that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The hidden truth about unforgiveness is that it operates as an active cause in your consciousness, continuously creating effects in your experience. Every person you resent, every situation you refuse to release, every past hurt you rehearse in your memory becomes a seed that must produce fruit in the form of ongoing sadness, conflict, physical illness, or blocked opportunities. This isn't punishment for being unforgiving, it's simply how consciousness works. The vibrational frequency of resentment, anger, and blame cannot coexist with the frequencies of health, abundance, love, and joy. When you hold on to past grievances, you're literally programming your subconscious to expect and attract more experiences that confirm your belief that life is unfair, people are hurtful, and good things don't last. Now, I want to share the most powerful technique I've discovered for releasing even the deepest resentments and freeing yourself completely from the energetic chains of past experiences. Because there's a specific process that can dissolve years of accumulated hurt in a matter of minutes when applied with genuine intent. Write in the comments, "I choose freedom over resentment," if you're ready to release the invisible burdens of unforgiveness that have been draining your creative energy and blocking your spiritual progress. This powerful technique for releasing accumulated resentments operates through what I call the symbolic erasure ritual, and it works by engaging both your conscious intention and your subconscious symbolism to create a complete energetic break from past experiences. The process begins with taking a blank piece of paper and writing with complete honesty about what you're ready to release. Whether it's a specific person who hurt you, a painful situation that continues to affect you, an old disappointment that haunts your dreams, or a resentment you've been carrying for years. The key is absolute sincerity in this writing process. Don't censor yourself or try to be spiritual about it. Write exactly what you feel. How you were hurt, why you're angry, what you wish had been different. Let all the pain, frustration, and resentment flow onto the paper without holding anything back. This isn't about being nice or politically correct. It's about honestly acknowledging what's been festering in your consciousness so you can finally release it. When you've completely emptied your emotional charge onto the paper, you make a formal declaration that marks the end of your willingness to carry this burden any longer. You say with genuine conviction, "I declare this finished. I renounce continuing to carry this pain, this anger, this resentment. I release it completely and free myself from its influence." These words aren't just ceremonial. They're a definitive statement to your subconscious mind that you're ready to let go. The final step involves burning the paper while making a powerful affirmation. This vibration no longer belongs to me. I am free from this pattern. I release both myself and everyone involved to move forward in peace. As you watch the paper dissolve into ash, you're creating a profound symbolic experience that your deeper mind recognizes as genuine completion and release. What happens next is often remarkable. The emotional charge that surrounded the memory begins to dissolve. The person or situation that once triggered intense reactions becomes neutral, sometimes even generating feelings of compassion or understanding. Most importantly, you stop unconsciously attracting similar experiences because you've cleared the vibrational frequency that was magnetizing them to you. But even the most perfectly executed forgiveness work can fall short of its full transformative potential if there's a crucial element missing from your spiritual practice. That element is love, and without it, all your affirmations, visualizations, and consciousness techniques operate at a fraction of their true power. Every spiritual law functions with mathematical precision, responding to your mental and emotional input with absolute consistency. But when genuine love permeates your practice, when your heart truly vibrates with compassion for yourself and others, these laws don't just operate, they accelerate dramatically. Love functions as a kind of spiritual catalyst that multiplies the effectiveness of every technique you apply. You can repeat the most powerful affirmations with perfect pronunciation, visualize with crystal clarity, and maintain positive thoughts consistently. But if your heart remains closed, if your soul lacks genuine compassion, if your motivation is purely self-serving, your manifestations will be weak, partial, and incomplete. There's something in the fabric of creation that responds to love with a generosity and abundance that simply isn't available to purely mechanical applications of spiritual principles. This isn't about becoming artificially loving or forcing emotions you don't genuinely feel. It's about recognizing that authentic spiritual growth naturally opens your heart to greater compassion, deeper empathy, and more sincere care for the well-being of others. As this love develops, you begin to notice that your prayers are answered more quickly, your visualizations manifest more completely, and your entire spiritual journey accelerates in ways that seem almost miraculous. Now, I want to explore the specific practices that cultivate this heart-opening love while simultaneously using it to accelerate every other aspect of your spiritual development, because there are particular approaches that can awaken genuine compassion even in hearts that have been closed by past hurts or disappointments. Write in the comments, "Love amplifies everything," if you're beginning to understand how genuine compassion serves as the missing catalyst that can transform your entire spiritual practice from mechanical techniques into living, breathing expressions of divine love. These specific practices that cultivate heart-opening love inevitably lead to a profound recognition that transforms your entire understanding of why you're here and what your life is meant to accomplish. As genuine compassion awakens within you, as your heart opens to deeper connection with all of existence, you begin to sense something that changes everything. The recognition that your presence in this world isn't accidental, random, or meaningless. You're not here because of a biological coincidence or a series of fortunate circumstances that happen to align in your favor. You're not the product of chance encounters between your parents or genetic lottery that randomly assigned you certain characteristics and challenges. The truth that emerges as your consciousness expands is far more magnificent and purposeful than anything your mind could have conceived. You are an incarnated idea of God, a conscious spark of infinite intelligence that chose to express itself through your unique combination of talents, interests, experiences, and even challenges. Every aspect of your personality, every gift you possess, every lesson you've learned through difficulty, every moment of joy and every period of struggle has been orchestrated to serve a singular purpose that only you can fulfill. This purpose isn't necessarily something grandiose or publicly recognized. It might not involve fame, fortune, or widespread acclaim. Your purpose might be as simple as bringing peace to your family, creating beauty through your hands, offering compassion to those who cross your path, or serving as an example of how someone can transform their life through spiritual understanding. But whatever form it takes, this purpose is the key to your deepest happiness, your most complete fulfillment, and your greatest creative power. When you align with your divine assignment, when you stop trying to be someone else or achieve goals that don't resonate with your soul, when you surrender to the unique expression that wants to emerge through you, everything flows with an ease and grace that feels almost magical. The most beautiful revelation is that you don't need to figure out your purpose through mental analysis or complicated self-discovery exercises. Your purpose reveals itself naturally as you practice the principles we've been exploring. As you clear your consciousness of fear and doubt, as you forgive the past and open your heart to love, as you align your thinking with spiritual truth, your authentic direction emerges organically, What's happening right now as you absorb these ideas and experiment with these practices is that you're remembering who you really are. If you've engaged with this material with an open heart, if you've tried even a few of the techniques we've discussed, if you've allowed these concepts to challenge your old assumptions about reality, then you're already experiencing a fundamental transformation. You're no longer the same person who began this journey. You've remembered that you're a creator rather than a victim of circumstances. You've understood that your mind isn't a passive mirror reflecting external conditions, but an active projector broadcasting instructions to a responsive universe. You've glimpsed the truth that your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are the invisible architects of everything you experience. The new world that so many people are waiting for, hoping for, praying will arrive from some external source, doesn't come from outside. It emerges from within transformed consciousness, one awakened individual at a time. As you change your inner world, your outer world must reorganize itself to match. As you elevate your thinking, you naturally create more elevated experiences. This systematic, daily practice that ensures your transformation becomes permanent, rather than just another temporary inspiration, is something I've been refining and teaching for years, and I'm excited to share more of these advanced techniques with you in the coming videos. The journey we've taken together today is just the beginning of what becomes possible when you truly understand and apply these universal principles consistently. If this resonates with you, if you feel like these insights are arriving at exactly the right moment in your life, then you're definitely in the right place. I create these videos because I believe deeply in your potential for transformation, and I want to continue supporting your growth with practical wisdom that actually works in real life, not just in theory. The best way to stay connected and ensure you don't miss any of the advanced teachings is to subscribe to the channel. Each video builds on the previous ones, creating a comprehensive foundation for conscious living that gets more powerful the deeper you go. When you subscribe, you're essentially saying yes to your own continued awakening, and I'm honored to be part of that journey with you. If you made it all the way to this point, if you stayed with me through this entire exploration of consciousness and creation, leave a comment saying, "The new world is born within me." That phrase will let me know you've absorbed the deeper message and are ready to take conscious responsibility for the reality you're creating. And if this video created that spark of recognition, that sense of, yes, this is what I needed to hear right now, a simple like lets me know we're resonating at the same frequency. It also helps this message reach others who are ready for this level of understanding. There's a video right here that takes these concepts even deeper, showing you the specific daily practices that can integrate all of this into your life seamlessly. Click and continue with me over there, because your transformation is just beginning and the best is yet to come.